Welcome to the Module 4 overview for Grade 2. Congratulations! By now, both you and your students are most likely at least halfway through the school year. You're probably ready and excited to begin this new area of study. In this fourth module of second grade, students build their literacy and science skills as they engage in a study of how pollinators are important and why we should help them survive. As you know, our curriculum is built upon the 4T's framework: topic, targets, task, and text. If you need a refresher, review the overview screencast for the K2 module lessons. In this module, students build upon research skills and science knowledge through a study of why pollinators matter and how people can help pollinators survive. In the performance task, students take action to help butterflies by creating a wildflower seed packet filled with wildflower seeds. The seeds can be planted, which will help to provide butterflies with nectar and a habitat. The front of the wildflower seed packet includes a title and a detailed, colorful pencil drawing of a monarch butterfly. The back of the wildflower seed packet includes instructions for how to plant the wildflower seeds, as well as a typed opinion piece explaining why people should help butterflies. This performance task addresses Common Core Standards ELA W2.1, W2.2, W2.5, W2.6, W2.7, and W2.8. Please review your module overview for a complete unit-by-unit listing of the standards assessed in this module. This task takes into account opinion writing skills, informational writing skills with the guidance and support of peers and adults. Students also build upon the research skills they have developed from Module 3. In Unit 1, students engage in a close read aloud of The Little Hummingbird. This helps them build the skills they need for comparing text during this unit. In Unit 2, students read two opinion texts: A Place for Bats by Melissa Stewart and Bats, Roosts, and Danger, written by EL Education, which describe the dangers facing bats and different actions people can take to address them. In the second part of the unit, students read about the dangers facing butterflies using the text A Place for Butterflies by Melissa Stewart and Help Protect Butterflies, written by EL Education. Students continue to hone their research skills by recording class notes, which they also use as evidence in their written piece. You will find that this module both deepens students' knowledge and their literacy skills, but also encourages students to be good citizens. In this module, students engage in close read-alouds, focused read-alouds, and independent reading. Students are supported in their comprehension with the role-play protocol, text-dependent questions, and note-taking. Students also read and write opinion pieces, building on their research skills from Module 3. Students explore the first guiding question: why should people help pollinators survive? During Units 1 and 2. They build upon this knowledge in Unit 3 when they address the question, how can I take action to help pollinators? And they create a wildflower seed packet for their performance task. As you know, the module is structured as 3 units of study over the course of 8 to 9 weeks. Students begin Unit 1 by engaging in activities that provoke wonder and curiosity about how we get the flowers, fruits, and vegetables that we enjoy. This leads students to learn more about plants and the connection between seeds, plants, flowers, and fruits. In the first part of the unit, students engage in a focused read of National Geographic's Seed to Plant and a focused read aloud of Plant Secrets by Emily Goodman. Through these reading experiences, coupled with hands-on activities and writing tasks, students develop an understanding of seeds and plants. In Unit 2, students learn about pollination with a specific focus on the role of animal pollinators. In the first part of the unit, students build their research skills using the text, What is Pollination? During a whole group project, students study bees. They then conduct small group research on different kinds of insect pollinators. Throughout the unit, students work on creating models to explain their ideas, primarily in the form of scientific drawings. Students' learning culminates in the Unit 2 assessment, an informative writing piece in which students explain how pollinators help plants through the process of pollination. In Unit 3, students apply their understanding of plants and pollinators to their performance task. A storyboard with illustrations and captions showing the pollination process of a specific plant and pollinator, as well as a written reflection on how revision helped them complete their task. Their research from Unit 2 serves as the main resource used to create illustrations and captions about that same pollinator, supplemented by a text focused on specific fruits, flowers, and vegetables. Students also continue to improve their scientific drawing skills through a series of mini lessons. The Unit 3 assessment is a rehearsal for the oral presentation aspect of the final performance task. The learning targets build across the 3 units of Module 3. As you may remember, targets are the standards written in student-friendly I can statements. The chart contains examples of some of the key learning targets in this module. Unit 1, students engage in focused partner and independent reading to learn about plants. They learn to look for information in a text and to record their learning through scientific drawings and Freyer model notes. Unit 2 provides a systematic approach to research reading and writing, beginning with a whole class project in the first half of the unit and moving on to small group projects modeled on the whole group experience. By the end of the unit, all students will have written and edited a My Pollinator writing booklet about a particular insect and the plants it pollinates. And in Unit 3, students work on their performance task, creating scientific drawings with captions that show the pollinator and plant that they researched, and note cards that capture what they want to say to an audience at the presentation of their learning. They practice presentation skills and learn how to give and receive feedback with empathy for their classmates. In this module, students work to contribute to a better world by taking action to provide for pollinators in their community. They apply their learning by forming opinions about why people should protect pollinators, and then creating a wildflower seed packet that helps to protect butterflies. They also learn to identify their own strengths by reflecting on their work and learning daily. In Unit 1, students work to contribute to a better world by taking care of shared spaces. Throughout the unit, students reflect on the actions taken by story characters to make their worlds a better place as students reflect on the unit's guiding question. Throughout Unit 2, students practice recognizing their own strengths and how they can learn from the strengths of others. And throughout Unit 3, students work to apply their learning to help their community by creating and distributing wildflower seed packets that support butterfly growth and survival. All EL education lesson plans include supports to help all students access the learning. The Supporting English Language Learners section at the beginning of each lesson names the important parts of the lesson, identifying where ELL students may struggle and suggesting options for lighter and heavier supports. The Universal Design for Learning section that always immediately follows contains suggestions for additional support and providing students with multiple means of representation, action and expression, and engagement. In addition, throughout every lesson, Meeting Student Needs sections provide specific strategies for supporting students with a variety of issues, such as fine motor skills, vocabulary, motivation, planning, and activating prior knowledge. ELL supports within the Meeting Students Needs column are labeled and explained in detail the first time they are used, but when they are repeated in subsequent lessons, they are condensed for easier reading and at times adjusted to provide lighter support. Attend to the detailed supports and labels early in the module to more easily apply them as the curriculum progresses. There are several opportunities in the EL education curriculum to extend student learning through community involvement, tapping into experts, or participating in fieldwork or service projects. Students and teachers can put their heads together to come up with amazing opportunities in their local communities. Some possibilities include inviting a gardener, groundskeeper, or entomologist to visit the class and teach about local wildflowers and butterflies. Taking small groups of students to search for local wildflowers and butterflies in gardens or natural areas surrounding the school, or inviting students to read grade-level folk tales or fables to a younger group of students. We hope you have enjoyed learning about this module and all of the ways that students will engage with the topic of animals. Please be sure to visit our website for our open source free curriculum. Check out the tools link at the top of this page for guidance documents, videos, and more. As a reminder, labs are an important feature of the K-2 curriculum because they support and extend student learning from the module lessons. They're designed to help teachers ensure that all of their students get the time to build content knowledge, become immersed in oral language, play and explore, and practice skills and habits of character they need, both to live joyfully and to be fully successful and present. During their lab time, students break up into groups and go into separate work areas. This structure creates a small collaborative atmosphere in which students can work throughout their lab's experience. The overarching intent of the labs is to build student independence. Therefore, labs are structured to gradually release responsibility from the teacher and increase independence of the students over the course of the 6 weeks of lab lessons that comprise a module. In some schools, time to implement labs is limited. If this is the case in your school, teachers don't necessarily have to run all 4 labs, and within each lab, there's room for some flexibility. If you are considering flexing labs, think about whether the work in a particular lab is critical scaffolding for the module performance task. Would students be more successful with limited choices? Are students, or can they be, doing something similar in a STEM or art class? The day-by-day schedule at the end of the module lab overview will be a helpful tool for teachers as they plan for labs. Remember, labs are scheduled to run for only 6 weeks of the 8 to 9 week cycle, so there's already some built-in flex time in the schedule. As you launch labs, take time to reteach and practice anything related to routines and materials management that students have been struggling with. Let's take a look at what students will be doing in the 4 labs offered in Module 4. In the first part of the Create lab, students learn to create marionette puppets for flying pollinator characters from the fables they write in the Imagine lab. During the later lab stages, students create background settings in front of which students can act out their fables. Students use their knowledge of plant needs, the process of pollination, and the relationship between plants and specific insect pollinators from their work in Module 3 lessons to design and create their puppets. The Module 3 performance task invites students to create a museum display that reveals a pollinator that aids in the pollination process of a specific plant. In the Engineer lab, students first learn about the important pollinator plants in their region. Then they design an ideal pollinator garden for their classroom or school. Students bring their garden designs to life by planting regionally appropriate pollinator-friendly plants and creating pollinator-friendly elements. Students deepen their understanding of the ways they can contribute to a better world through applying their learning to help their school or community. Students learn about the relationship between plants and pollinators in Module 3, so the engineering lab fits hand in glove with the Module 4 performance task, the creation of wildflower seed packets for distribution to members of the community. In the research lab, students learn about and teach their community about the idea of pesky pollinators, or pollinators that may not be valued for the important role they play. During the initial stages of the lab, students launch a survey to begin to collect their community's attitudes towards these pollinators. While this data is being collected, they will begin to read a central text and some supporting materials to answer text-dependent questions and learn more about these pollinators. Students then reflect on the survey data they collected and take steps to re-educate their community based on their perceptions. Student learning about common insect pollinators in Module 3 and bats as pollinators in Module 4 is the basis for original research into perspectives within the school community about different pollinators. In the Imagine lab, students write a fable with a familiar pollinator as the main character. All fables will center around the central message or lesson of even the smallest among us can do their part. Students analyze a model fable to determine criteria. They then use criteria to plan, draft, and revise their own narratives. Students present their fables using the puppets they created in the Imagine lab. Students use their knowledge of common story elements in fables and folktales to develop their own story based on a common central message. This lab links student learning about literature to habits of character and civic standards with the idea that any member of a community can make a positive impact. You probably remember that 1 hour lab time begins each day with 10 minutes of story time in which students listen to a rich text read aloud. The recommended book list included in your lab's teacher guide names titles that will enhance student understanding of module content or habits of character. This is a small portion of the list for second grade, Module 4. Storytime texts do not need to come from this list. As long as the books help students develop knowledge on the topics of plants and pollinators or the habits of character you are cultivating during this module, students can use other books that are part of their classroom libraries. If possible, each lab should have its own space in the classroom where all materials are stored. If space is limited, each lab can have its own container that students are taught to access and store at the beginning and end of their time in the lab. You can be creative about gathering the materials that you need. Families, parent organizations, and even local businesses are often happy to contribute supplies and materials, such as fabric scraps, plants, and costumes for imaginative play. You can also share materials across classrooms and even across grade levels. You can modify labs to incorporate more writing as well. Just ask yourself, would students benefit from formally writing up their lab and learning notes from the Explore or Engineer labs? Would students benefit from writing their own poems in the Imagine lab? Or would students benefit from more formal written reflection, particularly during the choice and challenge stages? What teachers and students love most about labs is that they're fun. So we wish you lots of joy as you bring the curriculum to life in your classroom.